So I want to transport you directly to a really dark rural road in Forest City, Arkansas. It's 12:40 in the morning on November 3, 2024. Picture this pitch black, just winding country road, right? And suddenly, the quiet is absolutely shattered.
Oh, yeah, because you have this massive Dodge Ram police truck in hot pursuit of a four-wheeler.
Right.
And they're hitting speeds of like 80 miles per hour. Both vehicles are just tearing through the dark, their headlights cutting through the woods until they hit a raised dirt berm in the road.
And at that speed, I mean, that is incredibly dangerous.
It's terrifying. They hit that dirt berm so fast that both the four-wheeler and this super heavy police truck actually launch into the air.
Which is just wild to visualize. And when they crash back down, the impact is so violent that the four-wheeler's battery cable violently snaps off the solenoid.
Yeah, and for anyone listening who hasn't really, tinkered with an ATV engine, a solenoid is basically the heavy-duty electromagnetic bridge between a vehicle's battery and its starter motor.
So when that cable disconnects, that electrical bridge is just entirely destroyed.
Exactly. The ATV doesn't just sputter, right? It dies instantly. It stops absolutely dead in the dirt.
So the deputy slams on his brakes, jumping out of his truck and yelling for the rider to get on the ground. But the rider, this figure in a camo hoodie and blue jeans, he doesn't hesitate for a single second. He just hops a nearby fence and vanishes into the pitch black woods before the deputy can even get close.
The deputy actually draws his weapon at this point, sweeping his flashlight and aiming into the trees. But the rider is just gone, like completely swallowed by the dark.
Yeah. And what I just described, it's not some opening scene from a thriller movie. Today, we are taking you on a deep dive into a real-life, highly controversial investigation.
Because that fleeing rider in the camo hoodie, well, that was a 15-year-old boy named Brazeale.
And the tragedy here is that hours after he ran into those woods, he would be found dead in what local authorities officially ruled a suicide by ligature hanging. But as we unpack the timeline today, and the physical evidence, and honestly the deeply unsettling actions of the officers that night, you are going to see a really chilling story. One that's full of forensic impossibilities, missing evidence, and very, very dark gaps in time.
Which I think brings us to the first massive red flag of the night. Like, why was a 15-year-old being chased by a heavy police truck at 80 miles per hour in the first place?
Good question.
The deputies involved, Deputy Trey Bayham and Sergeant David Kenny, they were originally in that area responding to a completely unrelated tip about two missing 11 and 12-year-olds.
Okay, so they're on a completely different call.
Exactly. They clear that call, but while they are still in the neighborhood, they hear some noisy ATVs in the distance.
But wait, the St. Francis County Sheriff's Office, they have a very strict vehicular pursuit policy, right? Like, you can't just engage in a high-speed chase on a whim.
Oh, far from it. An officer is required by department policy to call in a justification to dispatch before they ever initiate a chase.
Right, because of the risk.
They have to actually prove that the immediate danger to the public of letting the suspect get away heavily outweighs the immense, obvious danger of starting a high-speed pursuit in the dark.
Which makes sense.
But Deputy Bayham initiated this chase simply because he saw the four-wheeler driving at what he called erratic speeds. He never called it in with a proper justification. He just floored it.
So they're chasing this kid at 80 miles an hour for essentially being a noisy teenager on an ATV.
Yeah.
And, to really understand the sheer disconnect of this night, we have to look at what is happening simultaneously over at the Brazeale household.
Right, the parallel timeline.
Yeah, exactly. So it is now 1:21 a.m. Tripp calls his mom, Jennifer, and listen to this. He doesn't sound panicked.
Not at all.
He doesn't sound out of breath or like a kid fleeing for his life in a high-speed pursuit. He just tells his mom his four-wheeler is stranded, he can see the blue police lights in the distance, and he is just going to walk toward them and turn himself in.
And at almost that exact same time, a deputy who actually knows the family personally, Deputy Jason Bradshaw, calls Tripp's dad, Gil.
And Gil's background is important here.
Yeah, it's very important to know that Gil is a former law enforcement officer himself. So Bradshaw tells Gil that they are out there looking for Tripp. And Gil gets on the phone with his son and says, look, Bradshaw's out there. Just go turn yourself in.
So I really want you to put yourself in his parents' shoes for a second. It is a remarkably calm situation. You think, okay, our kid did something dumb on his ATV. He's stranded in the dark. He's going to go talk to the deputies, and we will just go pick him up. The tension is completely diffused.
Right, you think the worst is over.
But then, just 20 minutes after that completely calm phone call, at 1:41 a.m., Tripp's parents receive a massive text from his phone.
And the tone shifts violently. I mean, it reads entirely like a suicide note. It's this long paragraph-style message saying he loves them, but he's a, quote, fuck up, and that he wants all his stuff given to his brother.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he says his phone is about to die, he's sorry, and he never wanted it to end this way.
I really want you to think about teenage texting habits for a moment. Just getting a perfectly punctuated, deeply emotional, paragraph-long text from a 15-year-old boy who, usually just sends quick, lowercase fragments. I mean, it's like them suddenly speaking a foreign language.
It's so out of character.
His mom knew instantly something was catastrophically wrong, not just because of the terrifying content, but because the syntax, the punctuation, the rhythm of the words, it just did not sound like Tripp.
No, not at all.
If he was calmly walking toward the blue lights to turn himself in at 1:21 a.m., what on earth could have happened in those 20 minutes to trigger a meticulously punctuated suicide text?
And that is the defining question here.
Yeah.
Because the physical evidence we are about to look at, it completely shatters the narrative of what supposedly happened next.
It really does.
Let's look at the actual scene in the woods. Exactly 8 minutes after getting that terrifying text, Tripp's parents pull up to the precise spot in the woods where his phone was last tracking.
And the woods are completely empty.
Completely silent. There are no deputies. There are no patrol cars. No blue lights flashing in the distance. Just, pitch black darkness.
Wow.
So Gil immediately leans on his law enforcement training. He sets up a search grid using his phone's GPS, and they start methodically combing the woods for their son. But they find absolutely nothing that night.
Nothing at all. Fast forward to 2:12 p.m. the following afternoon, a game and fish warden is searching the area and spots a faint trail of broken twigs leading up a steep, wooded ridge.
Yeah.
She follows it, and she finds Tripp. He is hanging from a tree at the top of this ridge, a full mile and a half south of where he jumped off that four-wheeler.
And this is exactly where the physics of the official story completely break down. The local authorities quickly claimed this was a suicide. But just think about the logistics of that for a second. That means Tripp would have had to walk that mile and a half in the pitch black.
Right.
But he would have had to do it barefoot.
Right, because searchers actually found his boots miles apart from each other near where the chase ended.
Exactly. So he supposedly walked 1.5 miles barefoot over terrain that his dad described as violent ground.
Violent ground.
Yeah, we're talking thick, unmanaged woods riddled with rusted barbed wire, broken glass bottles, jagged rocks, and snakes. Yet, when his parents saw his body at the funeral home, there wasn't a single scratch, cut, or bruise on his feet.
Okay, I have to push back on this a little bit because this is where the mind tries to, fill in the blanks. Is it medically possible that because he was running from the cops, his adrenaline was just pumping so high that it entirely masked the pain? Could that adrenaline have allowed him to step on broken glass and barbed wire and just keep walking without feeling it?
It is a common misconception, for sure. But here is the critical physiological distinction. Adrenaline absolutely blocks the sensation of pain in the brain, but it does not prevent tissue damage on the body. If you walk barefoot through broken glass and rusted wire, your flesh is going to be cut to ribbons. Adrenaline doesn't make your skin invincible, It just stops you from crying out.
That makes total sense.
The complete lack of physical cuts, scrapes, or lacerations on his feet is forensically impossible to ignore. You just cannot walk that terrain barefoot without the environment leaving a physical record on your body.
Right, you can't just will away physical damage. If the ground is sharp, the skin breaks. And that is not the only physical impossibility here.
Not even close.
Tripp weighed 119 pounds. The branch he was found hanging from was barely 2 inches thick. Tripp's family actually consulted an independent forensic pathologist, Dr. Ashley Matthew, to look at the mechanics of this.
And what did she find?
Well, her research shows that to hold a dynamic weight of about 115 pounds, a branch needs to be at least 5 inches in diameter. This branch was so small, Tripp's mom could wrap her thumb and index finger completely around it.
Wow, that's tiny.
Right. To picture this, imagine trying to hang a heavy bowling ball from a thin car antenna. The sheer physical leverage and the static weight would snap it instantly.
Not to mention the mechanics of the ligature hanging itself. Ligature hanging generally implies suspension by a cord or strap, often without a significant vertical drop, which means the branch has to sustain a constant dead weight without snapping.
Exactly.
And Tripp was found hanging from a complex slip knot. But according to his dad, this is a kid who didn't even know how to tie his own fishing lines.
Right, which makes it highly suspicious.
And the ligature used was a green ratchet strap that investigators claim was taken from a deer stand about 30 feet away from the tree.
Which, if you really think about human behavior, makes zero sense. If you are going to take a heavy strap from a deer stand to end your life, why not use the deer stand itself?
Exactly.
It has height, it has a ladder, it's structurally sound. Why detach the strap, walk an extra 30 feet to the edge of a steep ridge in the pitch black, and try to construct a highly complex slip knot over a flimsy 2-inch branch that shouldn't even be able to hold your weight?
The physical evidence in the woods completely defies logic and gravity. So if the scene itself is impossible, we really have to find out what actually happened.
Yeah.
And to do that, we have to look at the one thing that was supposedly recording the officer's actions during that dark hour, which is the police body cameras.
And let me tell you, Deputy Bayham's body cam timeline is one of the most deeply disturbing parts of this entire investigation.
It really is.
We have footage of the initial pursuit. He stops, he checks the four-wheeler after the kid runs off. But then at 12:51 a.m., you literally see his hand reach up into the frame and he manually turns his camera off.
Now, department policy dictates that a body camera must stay on until an event is entirely completed.
So presumably he decides the event is over, the kid ran away, he's just waiting for a tow truck, nothing to see here.
Right.
But then at 1:40 a.m., Bayham turns his body cam back on, and when the video comes up, he is suddenly wearing latex gloves.
Keep the timeline in your head because this is crucial. He turns his camera on, wearing latex gloves, at 1:40 a.m. Just 1 minute later, at 1:41 a.m., that massive, meticulously punctuated suicide text is sent from Tripp's phone to his parents.
I mean, let me just challenge the entire logic of how this policy is being applied here. Let's say Bayham genuinely considers the chase over at 12:51 a.m., so he turns the camera off to save battery.
Okay.
Why would he turn it back on at 1:40 a.m.? If he is just standing by an ATV waiting for a tow truck, nothing new is happening.
Nothing at all.
If the event was over, it's still over. Doesn't the sudden reappearance of the camera, precisely 1 minute before a suicide text is sent, while the officer has inexplicably put on latex gloves, strongly suggest a completely new event was being documented or staged?
It raises massive, massive red flags.
Yeah?
Especially when you listen to the ambient audio captured the second that camera comes back on.
What does he say?
Bayham is heard talking to Sergeant Kenny, and he says clearly, quote, "I got him." And then he immediately points out that his heavy police truck's step rail is bent.
I got him. When the official story is that the kid vanished into the woods untouched, that phrasing combined with fresh, heavy damage to a police truck.
It's extremely concerning.
The family actually hired a private investigator named Cody Turner. He is a former EMT who has worked a lot of severe vehicle wrecks. He has the four-wheeler in his possession now, and he says the damage to it looks distinctly like it was struck heavily by a vehicle, not just a dirt berm.
Wow.
Did Bayham ram the ATV during the chase? Is that what bent his step rail? Is that what he meant by, "I got him"?
We obviously don't have the footage to prove what happened during that gap. But what we do have is perhaps the most chilling temporal anomaly I have ever seen in any forensic investigation.
I know what you're talking about, and it's crazy.
This chase happened in the very early hours of November 3rd, 2024.
Which was the end of daylight savings time.
Exactly. At 2 a.m. that night, the clocks legally fell back to 1 a.m. Local time repeated itself.
Right.
This means that 1:40 a.m. actually happened twice that night. So when we look at the police logs and see a 49-minute gap in the body cam footage from 12:51 to 1:4 a.m., we are naturally assuming it's the first 1:40 a.m.
Because that's how we read time linearly.
But because of the time change, that gap might actually be an hour and 49 minutes of undocumented time in the pitch black woods.
Nearly 2 hours of missing time. 2 hours where a 15-year-old boy goes from calmly planning to turn himself in to being found dead with a complex knot over a physically impossible tree branch.
It's hard to wrap your mind around.
And the unexplainable coincidences during this missing window just keep piling up. At 12:59 a.m., dispatch receives an anonymous 911 call. This caller somehow identifies the fleeing suspect in the woods, specifically as Tripp Brazeale, and gives a location behind a nearby church.
The logic there is completely broken because there was no be public, be on the lookout alert issued at all. The police didn't even officially know who they were chasing at 12:59 a.m.
Right, they had no idea.
How did a random civilian in a rural area know it was Tripp and know exactly where he was hiding?
And if you're wondering how we can't just, listen to the caller's voice or hear the background noise on the dispatch recording, it's because we can't. The caller's identity is completely redacted in all the files given to the family.
And it gets worse.
Oh, yeah. When the family officially requested the raw dispatch audio recordings for that night, the sheriff's office told them that lightning struck the sheriff's hard drive, destroying the files.
Wait, a literal lightning strike.
A literal lightning strike.
Destroying the exact digital files that might shed light on who knew Tripp was in those woods and who was communicating with dispatch during the blackout period.
It sounds like something out of a bad movie.
It really does. Compounding all of this, the sheriff's office flat out refuses to release Tripp's clothing and his socks to his parents for independent forensic testing.
Which is baffling.
If this is a definitively closed suicide case, as they claim, what is the legal or investigative logic in withholding a pair of socks?
So what does this all mean for the people involved today? Like the officials, the family, where do they stand?
Well, both Deputy Bayham and Sergeant Kenny have documented disciplinary records from previous law enforcement jobs. We're talking citations for insubordination, defiance, and neglecting duties.
Yikes.
In fact, Deputy Bayham was recently let go from the Marion Police Department after they found out he had omitted prior employment history on his application.
But his career didn't end there, did it?
No, not at all. Just days after being let go from that department, Bayham was rehired by the St. Francis County Sheriff's Office.
The very same department handling the investigation into Tripp's death.
Exactly. The sheriff publicly called him a, quote, good officer and welcomed him back onto the force.
I mean, just imagine you are Tripp's parents watching this unfold. It is absolutely infuriating. But Gil and the private investigator, Cody Turner, are not just sitting back and accepting these locked doors.
No, they are fighting back.
They are taking the ultimate step. They aren't just filing Freedom of Information Act requests and waiting for redacted documents anymore. Both men are currently running for sheriff in their respective counties.
That is incredible.
They are literally trying to dismantle and rebuild the system from the inside out to ensure no other family has to face lightning-struck hard drives and withheld evidence.
It's such a profound way to channel unimaginable grief into concrete action. As this case painfully illustrates, when the official channels close ranks and control the flow of physical evidence, you really have to find another way to force the truth into the light.
Which brings me to a final thought I want you to just mull over as we close this out. We've talked about how local authorities can redact documents. They can claim acts of God destroyed their hard drives.
Right.
They can manually switch off body cams in the dark. And they can refuse to hand over physical evidence like a pair of socks.
Yeah.
But there is one thing they cannot alter, and that is digital physics.
Oh, this is the phone.
Yes. Right now, Tripp's cell phone is sitting safely inside a Faraday bag, awaiting a completely independent private forensic extraction.
And for anyone who doesn't know, a Faraday bag is a specialized sleeve that completely blocks all electromagnetic signals. It means no one can remotely wipe the phone, alter its GPS, or ping its location.
It freezes the device in time. The data inside that phone operates on Universal Time Coordinated, or UTC. It is a continuous count of seconds that is completely immune to local police interference, and it does not care about daylight savings time falling back.
Wow.
That phone's internal memory might just be the ultimate silent witness. And when that data is finally extracted, it may unequivocally reveal exactly whose hands were holding Tripp's phone in the dark woods at 1:41 a.m.
Digital forensics don't rely on witness testimony. The code either exists or it doesn't.
Exactly. From a shattered battery cable on a dark rural road to the digital footprint of a final, highly uncharacteristic text message, the truth is out there, quietly waiting to be pulled from the muddy waters.